the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, 'cause it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. There's lights that burn so brightly, in the northeast sky they shine. From the place that Geordies worship, where legends wear number 9. You can travel right round the world, even meet the Pope in Rome. But nothing beats the feeling of when you come back here to home. No matter how life changes, we'll never be far apart. The northeast always home, and it's always in your heart. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to It's All Black and White TV, and I've got Macy from Devils United. How are you, Macy? You're on mute.
Thank you for having me on, Tony. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you? The mute, I just keep forgetting I'm mute.
Oh, that's no problem. Yeah, I'm absolutely fine, and it's great to have you on the channel again, Macy. And yeah, and I've got one. I'm going to put one thing to you shortly, and I'm going to get your honest opinion of it as well. So
Okay.
we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, guys, if you like what you see, then please smash the like. It really does help the channel up the search results. So smash those likes. Thank you very much indeed. Also, if you're brand new to the channel, then please hit the subscribe. Free to do so, helps the channel grow. And the bell notification tells you when I'm live, have a pre-record, or any upcoming shows. And also, if you'd like to make a donation to the channel, there is a link in the chat. Just click on the link and follow the instructions. Currently on 441 subscribers, so 9 away from 450 now. And this morning, I've actually smashed the 4,000 watch hour mark on YouTube in just 4.5 months. So that's not bad. But that's all down to everybody who tunes in and watches the show. So it's a big thank you to everybody out there. Yeah, so I'll just nip into some comments because we've got a few come in. See who we've got. Quite a few here from Harry. Harry says, "Afternoon, guys. Hope you're well." Absolutely, Harry. Thank you very much. Harry says, "Surely it's time to put microphones on VAR referees, explain the decisions to the fans and watching public. Full accountability and transparency. It has to happen." Absolutely. We're going to come to that. He says, "The problem with VAR isn't VAR itself. It's the incompetent idiots who use it. How can they give a decision one game, but in another game, it's the other way around?" Yeah, exactly. And he also says, "Howard Webb certainly needs to get his act together over the summer and massive changes need to happen next season." Yeah, I think coming in December probably doesn't help. I think he's going to have to wait at the end of the season and then have a big sort out. Mm-hmm. Hi, Tony says, "Trolls." Hi to you, Trolls. He says, "Hi, everybody else." Ian says, "Mind that ref from last night is getting some stick. Isn't he just?" Yeah. Troll says, "Deservedly so." Absolutely. And Ian says, "Hi, Tony and Macy." Hi, Ian. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, so last night, Macy, we won 2-1 against Nottingham Forest. I don't know if you saw the game.
I watched half because I was doing a show for half of it as well.
Yeah. Which half did you watch? Second or first?
Second half I watched. I was doing a Fulham preview on my channel for the first half.
Yeah. I mean, it was a game that we dominated from start to finish. We had that 15 minutes in the first half when they scored. We sort of lost our way a little bit. But after that, we got our act together. We scored what we thought, and I'll say what we thought was a legitimate goal. Elliot Anderson, great cross from Alexander Isak into the back of the net from Anderson. Great header. First goal for the club, as he thought it was, and until VAR intervened. And Now, you normally don't see a referee going for an offside to the monitor, so I found that strange why Peter Banks sent Paul Tierney to the monitor. And so he looked at it, and then he gave it as an offside. Now, not just me looking at this offside, I've looked at this in more detail. I mean, even Gary Neville can't believe it's offside. He says it's nowhere near offside. It's an onside goal. It should have stood.
Mhm.
And, and Gary Neville's absolutely spot on. Now, I've looked at the law 11, which is offside, and that's in the FA's rule book. Now, on law 11, it does say that a player who's in an offside position at the moment the ball is played or touched by a teammate is only penalised if they're involved in the act of play. Now, this is by a number of things: interfering with play by playing or touching a ball passed or touched by a teammate, or are they interfering with an opponent by preventing the opponent from being able to play or clear the ball?
Mhm.
Now then, you watch that game, you watch that back after last night. Quite clearly, Felipe, who was in the centre of the goal, in the 6-yard box, clears that ball with his foot. It then goes out to Nyakati, who was standing just inside the 18-yard box. And as he goes to kick it, it hits Sean Longstaff, who's just next to him.
Mhm.
Now, that's in the second phase of play. So how on earth is Sean Longstaff, who was standing at the 18-yard box, interfering with Felipe, who was in the centre of the goal, who's probably about 15, 20 yards away from him, and clearing the ball? I didn't get that one. And the more I've looked at it and the more I've read up on the rules, it makes nonsense, and it just makes it look like, personally, I look at it and think Peter Banks has hung that referee out to dry, because what he's done is, instead of making the decision on himself, he's thought, right, I'm going to send him to monitor, and if he doesn't get it right, he's going to have that crowd on his back. And I think the referee's been influenced. So, all in all, I never thought that was ever an offside goal. I mean, what's your thoughts, Macy? Did you think that was offside?
I watched it back a couple of times as well, and I do think for me it wasn't on offside either. But this is what the problem is. It's not getting the recognition what you've seen in the Brighton game and all the other games before, because it hasn't cost you a win. Because you still got a win anyway. It's not got the publicity of what you've seen of other VAR decisions. Because I think if that was to lead it to Forest having that point in the end, that probably would have been all about on social media, saying the outrage of this and the outrage of that. And I've never seen it either where the goal has been where it's been in that situation either, because it's either on or off. What was the point in the ref going to the monitor? I've always thought, for me, I think the refs are incapable as it is. I think they're shocking. And I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that just as there's international players bringing international refs, bringing some Spanish refs, bringing some German refs, bringing some Portuguese refs, bringing some refs from all of the top Europe teams, all in the top Europe leagues, put some of these English refs into the other leagues as well, let them have some good development, and then we can have a mixture of all over, because it just does. For me, it's just getting to the point where our league is getting a bit of a laughing stock with some of these decisions are absolutely mind blowing. It's not even just the one off, it's happening every single weekend. It's happening near enough every single game, and you can't put any more further excuses. You can't have any more apologies off these refs or these VAR. And the VAR for me should be ex players who hasn't played for either one of the teams, so it makes it unbiased. And I do think the refs need to be more international refs, because I just think it's just getting a joke, and I'd be fuming if I was yourself. But I just think because you've got the win, it wasn't published as the way it should have been published.
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe would have been really annoyed last night at the end of the point, because they would have got away with it. But I mean, Nyakati helped us out towards the end when he'd done that handball, and it was a clear handball. Couldn't be able to give a penalty for that, because if he hadn't, a VAR would have given a penalty. So but I mean, it was great mind games from us as well, from Trippier taking the ball to see who was taking the penalty. That meant Navas and the other guys got in his face and tried to play mind games with him. And then as soon as he got booked and were ordered back, Trippier then turned around, gave the ball to Isak, who then took the penalty, and they were like confused because they were like, oh, hang on, we thought Trippier was taking it, and I thought that was brilliant. Maybe Trippier's learned that from Atletico Madrid because, the king of shithousery is Diego Simeone, the guy's done it. He's done it all, and he knows all the tricks. So maybe Trippier's picked that up from him. But yeah, it was just a decision that it should have been a goal. Really, realistically, it should have been a goal. But whether anything gets made of it, I don't know. But a lot of ex-players and media have come out and said, it was a goal all day. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. Troll says, VAR should be automated, giving the ref a shock when a situation happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't see that, though. Yeah. Ian says, I can't see that happening. Yeah, absolutely. He says it would teach them to get it right. Yeah, absolutely. I Like Coffee says, hi, Tony and Mason Macy and all. Hi, Coffee.
Hi.
Been looking forward to you coming on. He says, I've heard Howard Webster issued an apology over the Newcastle mistake.
Not good enough.
Yes, I've heard that. He needs to, though, but it should have been the 3-1 win, shouldn't it?
Not
Ian
good
says,
enough.
well said, Macy.
Apologies are not good enough, because what is the point in Howard Webb issuing out apology so he'll make a mistake in another game? If you're going to issue out an apology like these refs have done before, don't make a mistake again. I know we're all only human, people make mistakes, but it's mistakes every single week. There's at least, I'd probably say, out of all 10 games in the Premier League, there's easily 4 games what's got a mistake in them. Easily. And what is the point in having these apologies anymore when they're not? When the apologies are not going to be taken seriously by the referees, the VAR, the people who's in charge of all this crap.
Yeah, I mean, we had it back in September where we had the incident with Joe Willock against Crystal Palace. I remember because I was at that game, and Joe Willock scored, and the goal was ruled out because the referee said Willock fouled the goalkeeper, when in fact Tyrick Mitchell pushed him into the goalkeeper, which led to that. Now, if Lee Mason at the time had showed all the angles available to Michael Salisbury, who was only a referee in his 7th game in the Premier League, so very inexperienced, would have known, oh, hang on a minute, actually, no, he's actually been pushed. Then he could have done one or two things. He could have said, right, I give the goal and no further punishment, or I give Mitchell a red card and I give Newcastle a penalty. So, there was things that could have been done there. And because he didn't see the angles, because Lee Mason only showed him the angle that he wanted to show him, and that's the thing, you've got to show all angles. And then in that same day, West Ham played Chelsea, and I think it was when Bowen went over, I think, for a penalty, and they said no penalty because it said he dived over the goalkeeper. But when they actually looked back at it, he didn't dive over the keeper. Mendy actually fouled Jared Bowen, so West Ham were denied a penalty. And and again, that was another apology issue to Newcastle and West Ham at that time from the PGMOL. So it's not great at all. But yeah, something needs to be done about it. And hopefully over the summer, we'll see Howard Webb sorted out. Troll says, turn off VAR until you get RPO people who just use it as VAR, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it could go to an independent, couldn't it? Pros, that's what he means, pros, yeah. But yeah, you could do. Coffee says, Troll says, hi, Macy. Coffee says, everyone, even Forest fans, could see it was not an offside except the referee. Exactly. Andrew says, I read all. Yeah, absolutely fine, Andrew. Thank you very much, mate. Troll says, first 6 to 8 games, VAR was a problem for us, to be fair. Yeah, it was. I mean, we had it against Liverpool when Isak's second goal with Gomez. He was clearly onside. VAR said, we couldn't tell whose shadow was who. What a load of crap. I've never heard that in all my life.
Shadow?
How? They said they didn't know whose shadow was who because of the lights, because it was a night game. So they couldn't tell who was Isak and who was... Yeah, so they couldn't tell who was Isak or who was Gomez.
It's ridiculous.
Jake says they don't want us in the top 4. Possibly not. Coffee says VAR cost Isak's awesome goal against Liverpool, now Anderson's first Premier League goal. Yeah, exactly. But this is the same VAR that gets a manager sacked if the team's struggling at the bottom end. So you've got to start getting these decisions right, because this is supposed to be the richest league in the world. Then let's start seeing the richest decisions made in the world instead of seeing all this poor excuses of referees. Because you never hear much coming out of La Liga. You don't hear much out of Serie A. Premier Liga in Portugal or Ligue 1 in France. You don't hear much coming out of them about dodgy referees or Bundesliga. No. You never hear VAR, but the Premier League, you hear it week in, week out.
Yeah, I think the Bundesliga for me has probably got the best referees in all top 5 European competitions. I hear the odd little thing about La Liga, because it's that one with the bald head. He's got like a bald head. I can't remember his name now, but he's a referee. He does in a couple of bloody Champions League, Europa League games, and I can't stand him, honestly. There's him, and that's the only one I can think of from La Liga who does cause a bit of a problem. Liga Portugal. The thing, I watched that league quite a lot, and the thing is with the referees, even though like I look at it and go, how's that a foul? They would still do it the next person and the next person and the next person. It'll be a lot of stop starting, because the referee, they wouldn't be inconsistent and say that's not a foul, but this one is a foul. They just give them all as a foul, which is it the best way to be? Probably not, but it's still consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I'm going to come on to with you. So I'm highlighting your team here, Manchester United. Okay. So I'm going to show you both, and then I'm going to explain each one, and I'm going to show them, then I'm going to ask you for your opinion on them. And so when you played Leicester City a week before the cup final, Sabitzer went in on Wout Faes of Leicester. Now, his foot there is just under the knee. He could have snapped that player's leg. That was a bad challenge. He got away with it. He didn't get a red card. So that was that one. Then last week you played Southampton at Old Trafford. Casemiro on Alcaraz. And his foot's not as high as Wout Faes. And yet he receives a red card. So Macy, the question is there, right? Okay, so we know anything above the ankle is a red card. Now then, so Casemiro sent off there, but why didn't Sabitzer get sent off for that?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think he should have?
I think he should have been red carded, even if they didn't think it was a red card, because obviously he let go very quickly. It still should have been a yellow card just because of this where he was. So I think clear as day it was a red card. There was no question about that with Sabitzer. But in terms of Casemiro, I think even the red card was right for him as well, because even though for me it was he didn't get the ball, even though that angle shows it looks like he got it, he didn't end up getting the ball. He just went straight at the Southampton player, and I just think for me is yet again just is the no consistency. If you've got studs up in a game and it's, as you said, high up, further up than the ankle, it's a red. It's a clear as day red card, and the handballs are just the same, because it's getting to the point, what's a handball? Because people used to say that's just a handball. Then since VAR come in, that's an handball. Like, make your mind up. What's a handball? And handballs cost a lot of people as well. And going to Man United alone, I don't know if you watched that Europa League game with Real Sociedad. Martinez got a penalty against him because he had a yellow, because he said he handballed it, but he didn't touch his arm with the ball, and he got a handball for it, and that cost us from being first place to the preliminary round. But I'm not saying that should that decision alone, because I said it doesn't matter. We got that penalty, but we still should have been better in terms of going forward. We still should have scored more goals. So I wouldn't have just single-handedly blamed that compared to a lot of Man United fans. But I think overall it's just everything is so inconsistent, and they need to have clear instructions. What's this? What's this? What's this? And I think they should have someone there who can overrule the VAR if it was incorrect. Just something there, because it's not working. And I know people wanted VAR because of the referees, But you've seen a lot much better decisions before VAR came, and at least if the refs didn't see it, you'd be like, well, they didn't see it, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is where VAR's too inconsistent, though, because you see a challenge like Sabitza's, and you go from that, and even if he did come out of it quickly, it doesn't matter. He still got him above the ankle. It still should be a red card all day, and then he gets a red card for that. So you can sort of see that the inconsistency of VAR, and I mean, you played at Anfield a couple of weeks ago. We'll not mention the result, but I mean, should Bruno Fernandes have got more action for this, for pushing the official? I mean, at the end of the day, you shouldn't touch an official. Now, they said the official was having to go at Bruno as well, but the thing is, all those years ago, Di Canio got done for pushing the referee over and got banned, and we quite clearly saw there when Bruno Fernandes shoved that linesman, and the FA said, "Oh, we're taking no further action." I mean, should he have been banned for that?
From what I remember, Aguero, he touched an official a couple of years ago as well, and he only got a yellow card. So I don't know if they've just lowered that down or not, but I remember the exact same happened to Aguero too. He got a yellow for touching the official too. So not too sure what the rules are in terms of that, but in terms of like you say, if it was a red card a few years ago, it should have stayed as a red card unless they've changed the rules. But I remember the same happened with Aguero too.
Yeah, it's there shouldn't really be touching officials really, but
I agree.
They should stamp out on it really, and same with getting around the referee. They should stop all that, and the only way you're going to do that is issuing cards every time.
Dive into it.
And yeah, I mean, this all stems back to when you think the World Cup back in 2018 when England played Colombia in that second round. How disgusting those Colombian players were that night. Not only when England got the penalty, but then as they were distracting the referee, the other players, one of them was standing scuffing the penalty spot, And that night, there should have been about 2 or 3 of them Colombian players sent off easily, for the way they went on. But yeah, they need to put a clamp on that and players surrounding the referee, but I don't think they'll ever will. But yeah.
I don't know how much you watch of women's football, but there's been quite a few bad decisions recently there as well. There was one where last year with one of our players, Honor, her ball went over the line for a goal against Reading. Clear as day, could see it on the TV, could see it in the stand, not a goal, and it was proper right in the net. There was one where for us, a handball was given against Man United, but it hit her on the chest, and that was a handball that cost us the top 3. Sorry. There was one this season where Aston Villa they scored a goal in the FA Cup, and they said that it didn't go over the line, but it did because it was a simple tap-in by one of the I think it was Rachel Daly, and it didn't. And they said it didn't go over the line when it's clear, evident it did. So all the Aston Villa players were crowding around the ref saying, "Look, it was over the net. Look, you can see it there. It's over the line," and it was over the line because you could see it off the TV. And that cost them to go playing extra time and go into penalties. But then it was Aston Villa. They got fined after the game for crowding around the ref.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. I mean, Andrew's saying it was less offside than Casemiro's in the League Cup final. Coffee says, I feel bad for Vieira getting sacked on St. Patrick's Day of all days. I mean, what do you make of that, Macy? I mean, Patrick Vieira has lost his job at Crystal Palace. Do you think it's stupid to sack somebody this long in this, this far into the season? I mean, they've got 12, 13 games, whatever it is left. I mean, and they talked about Roy Hodgson coming in. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Do you know what they say? Never go back to an ex. And this is what Crystal Palace is doing with Roy Hodgson, aren't they? But I think for me, the thing is with Patrick Vieira, he did do a good job last season. I think loads of teams wasn't able to get Patrick Vieira's tactics because he played attacking football, which Crystal Palace weren't about. But the problem is from 12th to the relegation, the points are so narrow. So technically, Crystal Palace could be in the relegation if they lose it at so many games under Patrick Vieira. So I think, yeah, it's wrong to sack him. He didn't have enough time. But under the same breath, he was the only manager left who didn't win a single game in 2023 who's still in his job. And you can't, and it's in March now, you can't expect a manager to stay in the job when they've not even won a single game yet in 23 either.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles says, I don't know why they sack Vieira at this point in time. They might go down now because of that, but they won't get Tuchel or Poch or anything like a manager that ilk. No, definitely won't. Ian says, don't see the point in sacking someone with just a few games left. He might have kept them up. Absolutely. Foxy. Foxy, up you well. He says, they say VAR decisions even himself out over a season, which can be debated. As bad as his decision was for the offside, we got away with one last week with poor penalty. Things need to improve, though. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Foxy. Yeah, but I think what made their minds up on that one was Raul Jimenez was going to ground as well, so he was after a penalty, wasn't he? Yeah. And Andrew says, yeah, because Pope wasn't a pen, Pope fell into him. Last night's defo bent. He tried his best. Ashton says, have Crystal Palace got a new manager who's most likely? They're talking to Roy Hodgson, apparently, which I just don't understand that one. I don't get that.
No. But the thing is, you've seen like all these these ex-players who's become managers in the game, and if you want me to be honest, 9 times out of 10 they haven't worked at all. And I just think as much I don't think they should get Roy Hodgson, but I also think on the same breath, why not try and get an experienced manager from another league? Look at Brighton. Brighton. They're a fantastic team, but they haven't got like the pulling like what other teams do, in my personal opinion, to getting top players and getting top managers. But De Zerbi, I didn't know too much about De Zerbi because I'm not like watching Serie A week in week out like I know a lot of people do. But I think he's been on a fantastic pull for Brighton. I think he's actually better than Graham Potter. So I don't understand why not Crystal Palace look at another league. I will look at some of the underrated managers, maybe from I know Mönchengladbach. They've got a decent manager. Why not look at someone else in Italy, or have a look at someone in Spain? Because there is some fantastic managers out there, but they're just not looking at them. And I just don't think the ex-players shouldn't be their managers in the relegation fights.
No, definitely not. I mean, De Zerbi, obviously John Sinclair knows a lot about him because he's seen him in Italian football and he went to Shakhtar Donetsk. But he's done well for Brighton. And look where Brighton are, they're flying. He started off slow, but look where they are now. And John did say this guy is a good manager and he's an up-and-coming manager. So Brighton's got another gem on their hands. Mm-hmm. But I suppose when you look at Brighton to Palace, so they were in a better position when he took over than what Palace was. So
Palace
was hard.
They're like a top 10 team, aren't they? Really under Graham Potter, or just under the 10th place. But I think with the manager they've got now, they could easily finish in the Europa League Conference League spot this year.
Yeah, could do. Reese from Devils Rising. Hey, Tony. Hello, mate. Hi, Reese. Hope you're well, mate. Andrew says, ridiculous, though, Charles. Hodgson's retired. Yeah, well, you would think so, wouldn't you? Ashton says, they haven't balanced out VAR for us. They've just added it up. Reese says, across the whole league and Europe, officials and VAR are all over the joint. Yeah, they are. I totally agree with you. Indeed. Says Trolls to Andrew. Coffee says, we had Dan Burn at left back, Target on the bench with Dummett, Lewis, Manquillo. Now looking for another left back in the summer. Yeah, well, I think Dummett will be gone in the summer. I think Manquillo will probably go back to Spain in the summer, in all honesty. And I think Lewis will be gone in the summer. So that's why we're looking for another left back. So there's going to be a few players going out the door. B.R. Viking says, time to fully automate refereeing, build on all a live stream, so no human presence. Reese says, European officials are supposed to be the best, but they've even had controversial recently, but too many controlled handballs against us. Premier League officials don't match the tagline. Best league, absolutely, totally agree. It's just we need it. We need it overall of the year referees in the summer.
Yeah.
Andrew says would still be Bented beer. Reese says should have done it at the end of the season. Now they're bringing Roy back to ruin it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just I just don't get that one. I really don't. Low key, watch Ezzy and Elise get ruined by Roy Hodgson. Yeah, I bet they do. Yeah, definitely. Coffee says on Instagram, Nottingham Forest posted a crucial decision in a crucial match, and we've been badly let down by the wrong goal. We had post. Yeah, what they're referring to, Coffee, is, and this is what Steve Cooper said last night in the first half when we got our equaliser. I can't remember who it was now, but somebody. It wasn't a foul. It was just a little kick in the back of the ankle, but accidental. And Ayew went down and he said it was a foul. And why didn't VAR look at it? But they probably didn't thought, well, there was nothing in it because it was accidental. It wasn't on purpose. So that's probably why they're saying they were let down by that call. But they weren't let down because it was never a foul in the first place. Foxy says, I didn't see much wrong with the Colombia kid. What Colombia did, sorry, it's a normal thing over there. Different culture. Just look yesterday in Argentina, Union and Racing, same situation. Yeah, it's South American thing, isn't it? And Foxy knows all about that. Andrews, I hope Palace go down. Horrible cheating team. Steve Bruce for Palace, well, you know. Simon Jordan as Palace manager, says Coffee. Yeah.
I know
Before
you
Steve
don't like
Palace.
Steve Bruce, but neither do I.
No.
That's something we've got in common there. But if they got Steve Bruce and they got relegated, most likely they will come back up because Steve Bruce has got the most promotions back into the Premier League.
You say that, Macy, but he went to West Brom and he had a decent West Brom, and look where they ended up, and they were in the relegation zone. They sacked him. He said he promised to get them out of the Championship, but he didn't say which way. Reese says if Crystal Palace are smart, they'll go for Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Ralph Hasenhüttl, though, I do really like him as a manager. And I know Reese does as well. And the thing is with Ralph Hasenhüttl is I think he was really overachieving in that Southampton team. I think the 4-4-2. I'm not a fan of 4-4-2. I'm a bit of a formation kind of like I'm one of them. Like I don't like 4-4-2s. I don't like the 4-2-3-1. I just like certain formations. I know some suit different managers, but I think the thing is why he played that 4-4-2 was because he barely got backed by that Southampton board. Southampton is quite a rich club. It's richer than some of the other Premier League clubs in there, like the richer than Leeds, for instance. The richer than Nottingham Forest, and they're putting hardly any investment into that squad. Some of the players they've got, I know Bella Kotchap was a great signing, and the goalkeeper who they got, he is going to be great, but you cannot sign a goalkeeper like who's very young coming into the Premier League, expected to be first place starter and not make mistakes. Aribo, I think it doesn't work for him, but I just think if Ralph Hasenhüttl did go to that Crystal Palace team, he will be playing real good pressing football in the 4-3-3 formation. I think he'd be fantastic in it.
Yeah, probably would be. Yeah, definitely. Reese says De Zerbi is a fantastic manager, smart there, Mace. And he says Marcelo Gallardo, another one I would go for.
I have no clue who he is.
No, hard to get managers now, though, says Trolls. Yeah, it is, especially at this time of the season. He says, speaking of Shakhtar, they could get Fonseca, another good manager. Yeah, we were heavily linked with him when we got rid of Bruce. Mm-hmm. Coffee says, Brighton have done so well. Definitely deserving of a European spot. I like the way he does this. He's brilliant, and he Coffee. De Zerbi is possible favourite for the AC Milan job alongside Conte and Spalletti. Conte can get stuffed. I would like to see De Zerbi or Spalletti. Thing is, though, Conte is on his way out of Tottenham at the end of the season. There's no sign of him signing a new deal, so he'll be gone, and that's why Spurs are just crap, basically. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton beat them this afternoon. Roy Hodgson is going back to Palace. The old people's home want him out. Reece says, what was Cooper complaining about the new phase of play? You'd think he knew the rules. Yeah, he was talking about the when we got our equaliser, because Ayew took a kick in the back of the ankle, but in the back of the foot, in the heel, but it was nothing major, and it didn't contribute in a foul. So I don't know what he's whinging at. Ashton says Nottingham can't complain after all that terrible performance last night. They were playing dirty. Yeah, they were trying to get players injured. They were disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Those daft Forest Gump fans need reminding it could have been 5-1 to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Forest should play with 30 men in all those signings. Surely they'd be further up the league, says Reece.
I must be honest, I do back Nottingham Forest in this when it does come to signings. And the only reason why I do is I was actually speaking to Steve, the Fulham fan, yesterday about this. And the thing is, Nottingham Forest, they had so many loan signings last season and they had so many players who was out of contract. By the time it got to when they come into the Premier League, they were losing 22 players. And on top of that, they still need to strengthen because it's a new because they're moving into the Premier League. And that means they've got to replace all the 20 players they've lost. They didn't even have a striker. The only thing they had what was consistent was the back for the centre backs. They had nothing else from that championship team. So they've had to get replace all these 20 players, and on top of that, you do need to strengthen. You need to get some great experienced players. Like Lodi was a great signing, for instance. Serge Aurier and Navas, they were terrific signings. You do need to strengthen to stay up in the Premier League. So even though like we do have a bit of a joke about it, I just think for me, you can understand on the same breath why they signed so many players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Keelan Navas, they've gotten goal. I mean, he's a cracking goalkeeper, and he's probably the most decorated player they've got in that team because he's got Champions Leagues, Club World Cup, he's got Copa del Rey, La Liga, Ligue 1. You know, he's won them all, hasn't he? So
where did they get?
Yeah. Hey.
Where did Nottingham Forest get that pull?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, they got him on loan, haven't they, for the rest of the season? I mean, he pulled off a few great saves last night, and he still is. I mean, he's 36, but he's still a terrific goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. From what I read, he said he wanted to come to the Premier League, and you know what? I know he's getting older and stuff, so fair play to him that he wants to actually take that challenge, and I do respect players who want to take a challenge into different leagues, and I think for me, I think it's going to be a massive challenge coming to the Premier League as it is, but going into a relegation fight Nottingham Forest team.
Yeah. Reece is saying, I hated that Ralph got the boot and they started spending on good players. Absolute joke of a club. Yeah. Andrew says it might as well be France in Southampton. Yeah. Sixth richest club is Southampton, Premier League club. I like the 4-2-2-2 diamond that played. But when he changed all over the place in 4-3-3 in Austria, was brilliant. Yeah. He had a good career in Austria, didn't he?
About the 4-2-2. I hate it. It's just giving me like Ralph Rangnick vibes. I'm just literally like,
oh, yeah.
When he played that 4-2-2 against us, and I said to Reece as well, I was like, why do these formations have to have 4 different numbers? And I seen one with Liverpool where it had 5 different numbers. I was like, why can't they just stick to a simple formation and leave it as that?
Yeah, definitely. Ashton says Nottingham's buying fans with not a team with all them signings. But Reece says, no, some of the signs have been good, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, I had a Forest fan on the other night, and I did ask him his opinions on Jesse Lingard. And he said, Jesse Lingard off the pitch, around the dressing room. He says, yes, he does his TikTok, but he says around the dressing room, behind the scenes, he's absolutely fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better professional. But he says, on the other hand, on the pitch, he's not being great. Personally, and this isn't an attack on Man United, but personally, I think Man United maybe ruined him because last January, when he was in the last 6 months of his contract, we wanted him on loan. but we wouldn't do business because Man U didn't only just want a £5 million loan fee, they also wanted us to pay a £12 million survival bonus. So if we'd stayed up, we would have had to pay you £17 million in total. And we said no chance that was happening. But then apparently on the last day of the window, both West Ham and Newcastle rang up for him, and Man U refused to answer the phone. And he stayed. And then Ranić says, yeah, he'll play. And I don't think he hardly played any minutes for you. And maybe Ranić wrecked his career. What do you think, Macy?
I think for me, if that situation didn't happen with Mason Greenwood, I think he would have gone. But the thing is, I think he was just probably more there for squad depth. Personally, I think he should have gone in the summer before, because he was absolutely terrific at West Ham. West Ham offered 30 mil, but Jesse Lingard wanted to stay at Man United. He come out and said, I wanted to stay at Man United. Why would you want to stay at Man United knowing that you're not going to be a started 11 player? Because Bruno's going to be playing in your position. You're not a winger and you're not a striker. So where are you going to physically play? Where are you going to play week in, week out? Because you played at West Ham week in, week out and got in England. I think for me, if that didn't happen on that player who I just mentioned, I think he probably would have gone easily. But I can understand why he kept him. But I do also think, of the same breath, Lingard should have been a bit more realistic when it comes to the summer before and left.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's just a strange one. His career's just like nosedive completely, hasn't it? And he just doesn't look like the player that we even saw from the last World Cup, you know? I mean, totally different player, but now he just looks a shadow of himself now. And there's talk that he might be going off to Saudi Arabia or something in the summer. So
the thing is, Lingard, I love what he's done at Man United, because he was a contributor for us to win the Carabao Cup a few years ago, same with the FA Cup. He's had them brilliant moments at Man United, and knowing as a youth player, you do have that small bit of love for him as a Man United fan. But I do also think, under the same breath, that he played a few teams along, because like you obviously thought to yourself, oh, we can get him in the summer on a free, and so did West Ham. And I think he kind of strung us along in that kind of way, because he went to the club that had the biggest money. He didn't care about the football to say, like, look at Newcastle, they got a project. Look at West Ham, they're going to be in the Conference League this season, so they'll need a little bit of a squad depth, a little bit of experience with Jesse Lingard. And he went to a newly promoted Nottingham Forest on a 1-year deal for wages what was over double what Man United give him.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. And yeah, I mean, Ashton says, I'd love to see Nottingham go down after how they play. Buying 30 players to go down would be hilarious. There'd been a lot of trouble, won't there? So Coffee says, Trippier's face when he played mind games with the Forest players for the penalty gets me every time. Ian says, yeah, that was class. Isak's penalty was good. Keeper had no chance. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Reese says, oh, Maze, I love your girl. Always funny over formation talk. Foxy says, can see Walcott having this one good game of season today versus Spurs. He'll be up for it as the next gunner. Yeah, he probably will be. Absolutely right there, Foxy. Yeah. Ashton says, hope Chris Wood planks for Nottingham like he did for us.
He actually scored on it for Forest.
Against City, yeah. Ravi's in the chat. He says, big up Mason Tony. Hi, Ravi. Hope you're well, mate. BS says, Lingard does care about football, only about getting paid pounds. Yeah, absolutely. He isn't Forest fans' favourite. Ashton says, trolls. No, he's not. Lingard's the next Dele Alli.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Lingard is still young, though, says Arsenal for life. Yeah.
That's how United fans look at him. Oh, he's on for our youth. He's only 22. He's literally like nearly enough 30. And the thing is, right, I don't know if you watched the interview when he was talking about Man United. I watched it. And this is the thing, like, he was saying, like, Man United didn't have facilities such as a pool table. I look at, you're at Carrington to train, not to play with pool. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, you don't school table at Carrington. It's not about fun and games. It's about training and becoming a side 11 player. And the fact that he says little snipes like that, like little facilities, and it was his body expressions, like he was like slumped like that, and he was talking like he didn't care, he wasn't bothered. And I met Jesse Lingard myself. I was probably about 16 or something when I met Jesse Lingard, and I absolutely loved him. He was down to earth. I thought he was absolutely lovely. But somewhere I met him in 2017 to now, he looks a completely different person. He just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, how a player's just gone downhill rapidly. It's, you wouldn't have thought he would do, but yeah. Andrew says if we get Kavicha Kvartakashvili, I'll be over the moon. He's class. Mind you, chant a song for him when he scores. Maybe Sheila take a bow from the Smiths. You heard it here first. He's a good player. Yeah, I mean, 10 million quid, what a bargain that's been, isn't it?
I know. Oh, and they will let him go. The thing is, right, because a lot of teams are looking at Osimhen as well. And I don't think they'd let go of two of them. I don't think they'll let go of both. So it'd probably be one or the other they'll let go. And I think if they're looking at any of them, they'd probably look at going. Osimhen will probably be gone first, just because he's already been 3 years into his contract and things. But they've also got Kim May, the centre back, and he's got a release clause for 40 million. That's a bargain as well.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Ravi says, what's your thoughts on Man United winning the Europa?
I think when I done my predictions, I predicted Man United to finish 5th. And I also said Man United to win the Europa League, because I said I don't think we'll finish top 4, because I had like Chelsea in my mind. I had Liverpool, but obviously that's gone to pot. But I said the thing is with Man United, it's Ten Hag's first season, and I think he'll want to concentrate on cup competitions, because we've not had a won a cup in a few years now. And the best one to do is the Europa League, because it's going to guarantee you the Champions League football. And I think there's still some fantastic players in there. We've got Seville next, the second club in history to get all the Spanish teams one after another. Fantastic. And on top of that, afterwards they've got my Portuguese team, Sporting, if they beat Juventus. The thing is the Europa League, it's so much harder compared to the Europa League when we won it in 2017, because there's some class teams in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, it is. It's just full of, because you get the Champions League dropouts as well, and some of them are class teams that go in there. So yeah, it's a bit like the English Championship. You go in there, and there's a lot of ex-Premier League teams, So, I mean, I know it's not at the same level as a Championship, but you know what I mean. But it's hard. So you've got to be on your A game in that. Foxy says, Lingard had a solid career, to be fair to him. Won trophies at his boyhood club, had a great World Cup. Financially secure, hasn't worked out for him this season. MLS would make sense next.
If you go MLS, you know what, you see your career is done.
Yeah. Ashington says, Chris Wood takes a penalty for Forest just as he's about to kick the ball. He falls like a plank, and Forest miss out the chance to get the goal. Last minute of the game, Forest lose. Where have you had that dream, Ashington? Lingard's 30, says Trolls.
Oh, yeah.
Lingard has his faults, which are obvious, but Ali is lazy, says Reese. Absolutely. I'm off. Take care. Have a great day, says Trolls. Yeah, have a great day, Trolls. Thank you very much, mate. He says losing Kavicha hurts more for sure, as they can get a top striker to replace Osimhen, and he is phenomenal. Yes, he is. I mean, isn't he just? They cannot replace Kvartakashvili, says Devils. No, absolutely not. Foxy says Lingard had a difficult time with his family, his mum not being well, so found it quite difficult, sad at the amount of abuse he gets from fans because of TikTok. Lingard 10 times the career of Dele Alli, though.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I just think in terms of the hype that he thinks in his own mind is the same as Dele Alli's. The laziness is the same as Dele Alli's, and the downfall is the same as Dele Alli's as well.
Yeah. Reese says we're favourites for the Europa League, and Arsenal have a good chance now.
You know what?
Talking of Arsenal, did you see that goal the other night from Sporting? What a goal that was.
You know what, right? You know I love Sporting, and I actually didn't think Sporting would get through with Arsenal. I was like, we're done for. It's done for now. It's just. But Pedro Gonçalves, that was a terrific goal, and he won. Do you know that the most beautiful award goal of 2023? He won it for that goal. It was absolutely stunning. If that doesn't get the Europa League goal of the season, if they do that kind of thing, that needs to get given. It was brilliant, and I think for me, Sporting played a very good both legs, and overall they were the better side against Arsenal. And I think for me, Arsenal really underestimated Sporting, and there was like I seen like Arsenal fans saying we're gonna beat Sporting 6-0 on both legs. I was like, don't be stupid. You're not gonna beat a Sporting 6-0 on two legs. You literally like Spurs couldn't beat Sporting, and they was in the Champions League. So what makes you think that you're gonna batter Sporting 6-0, who's won the league before you, has won literally since the Ruben has come in? They've won trophy after trophy under him. They've won near enough a trophy every season, and you think that they're gonna batter Sporting? But the first leg 1-1, I thought, right. I thought good performance, but it's done for. But the goalkeeper Aiden was superb. He put a great performance on at the Emirates. Pedro Gonçalves was great, and I think it was kind of smart in a way that the manager didn't make a substitute until the extra time come. Just because I think you play your best start 11 and then bring in great legs there of Nuno Santos playing in the wing back role, and bringing on. Who else did he bring on now? He brought in a couple of youth players on there as well. So I think it was very good, smart tactics there by Ruben.
Yeah, definitely. Gary says, good evening, Tony and Macy. Good afternoon, Gary. Coffee says, teams in Portugal have stepped up in their levels. Foxy says, Sevilla, easy work for Man United. Not the Sevilla of previous years.
Hopefully, but the thing is, we've never won a game against Seville.
Yeah. Andrew says, still a player in Lingard. He just needs his head out of his backside and stop believing in his own hype.
Agreed.
Great show, you guys. I do have to go, though. I'm live at 3. Have a great show, Reese, and catch you later, mate. Coffee says, I'm excited about our women's team beating the league leaders. Yeah.
It'd be interesting because it's because you have been like, it's like the League One equivalent of like English football, and it's really difficult to get into the Championship for the women because there's like 4 in the League One section because it's tier 3. You've got the North, the East, the South, the West, all in different leagues, and I think you're second place, I believe, from what I've read.
Yeah.
So if you win that, then you're in playoffs with the other teams, and then you got 2 rounds of playoffs, and then it'll be like the best 2 go into the final. And whoever wins the final goes into the Championship. So it's very, very hard to get out of that kind of tier. Very hard.
It is, isn't it? It's weird, isn't it, how it's set it up? Foxy says, Besiktas have completely banished Dele Alli from the club this week, told him not to come back for the remainder of his loan. Yeah, I saw that, Foxy, and I was like, this ain't good, is it? Arsenal will win zilch. I bet you a pint, says Andrew. Well, they're going to win the league, aren't they?
Season. I said it started this season, but Arsenal win nothing.
Andrew talking to Reese. Ashington says, Arsenal fans, very cocky, 1 loss, and they hate the manager, half of them. I mean, we saw it the other week, didn't we? I mean, we all know Luca, who does Arsenal's podcast. And he went into a bit of a meltdown when they were 2-0 down against Bournemouth, and he was calling for Arteta to be sacked, and Arsenal turned around and won 3-2. And, you know, the poor lad's never lived it down, has he? But he come out and he's full of sporting about it. And he said, you know what? He says, yeah, I mean, they're that day. And he says it was just the emotion of Arsenal being, you know, of being behind against Bournemouth. And you can see where he was coming from. At the end of the day, we all wear our hat on with Steve. Eh?
the thing is, I think for me, Arteta was definitely on borrowed time. If he didn't win that FA Cup, he would have been sacked, probably, in my opinion. But the problem is you can't. You're top of the league. You can't get your manager sacked. You get what I mean? He's the 5 points. I think the 5 points clear against City at the moment. So you can't expect the manager to be sacked. You wouldn't want the manager to get sacked. The thing is, no Arsenal fan expected them to be top of the league, but now when they lose, they ask for the manager to be sacked. It's not. I see a lot. I've seen Arteta out trending after the Sporting game. So I was literally like, "What? He's top of the league! Like, come on, give me strength."
Should be happy where they are.
Exactly, because that would be the first title since the Invincibles.
Yeah. Coffee says, are the playoffs played at Wembley?
No, they just played at a neutral ground. They can be played at Wimbledon. They can be played at Villa Park. It can be literally anywhere.
Yeah. Ravi says, Mace question, do you see any similarities in the men's and women's game?
Inconsistent refs. That's a similarity. But
yeah.
The cups, the FA Cup is the same. The complete same. The league is a lot smaller. They don't have a playoff for the championship, so it's first gets promoted, the bottom gets relegated out the league. In terms of their version of Carabao Cup, it's a bit like the Champions League where you got a groups that you're in groups. The top one out of the 5 groups, like there's 5 groups, so the one who finishes first in the top 5 groups, go into the quarterfinals, and then they'll play that way, which is a very weird cup to play.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Continental Cup. But the ones who are in the Champions League are automatically in the knockout stages. So Arsenal and Chelsea were automatically promoted. And in terms of the tiers system, they're all completely different as well. So there's a couple of similarities, but not much. So I know a lot of people compare the men and the women's football, and I think it's very hard to when you have them make much difference.
Yeah, definitely. Coffee says, I remember that video of Mourinho giving advice to Dele Alli about his career. Yeah. Foxy says, Jose versus Man United final, Roma.
Oh, that would be that'd be the exact same though with the 2017 final for Man United when we won it, because it was Ajax versus Man United. So Ten Hag and Jose will be reunited, but it's Ten Hag who's actually the Man United manager now.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Mourinho, says Coffee. Yeah,
I like Jose,
he has a soft spot for Newcastle.
I like Jose, don't get me wrong, but the thing is he's a bit of a dinosaur, isn't he? Like, it's Jose's way or no way, and that doesn't always necessarily work.
Coffee says, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Get Tony to 600 subscribers before April. Thank you very much, Coffee. And Ravi says, Mesa Football Human Encyclopedia. I mean, to be fair, it's the women's game is really stepped up now, and we've got a World Cup to look forward to this year, so that's going to be exciting. But again, we'll see how well we do in the World Cup. Let's see if we can go one step further this year and win it. Who knows? We're still unbeaten, aren't we? So under the new manager.
Too. But the thing is with there's not many teams who can beat England women. The only ones who can beat possibly America, but we've already beat them, so there's no reason why we shouldn't. Canada are the current Olympic gold medal champions, so I think they could be quite difficult. But at the moment, they've got the players are kind of in a bit dispute with the association with Canada because of the way the women's team's getting treated, because they're saying, well, we're like the Olympic champions, why are you not treating us similar to the men's? Because I think there's a lot of facility issues going on, so I think they're looking at potentially going on strike. And Germany will be probably the next person who could be a next team who could potentially cause a bit of a threat for England. But I'm not afraid of Germany. I'm not afraid of any of the teams I really mentioned. But I think there would be the most likely ones. If England's going to lose against any, it may be one of them. But I think when you come to the World Cup, you will see a massive downfall with Spain. Have you heard about the Spain women's situation?
No, I haven't. No.
So,
What's happened there?
basically, their manager, he's called Vilda. His dad is basically like the executive chairman of Spain, for the Spain women team. And basically, the manager Vilda, he's been treating the players like crap. He's been down talking them. He's been treating them poor with the facilities. He's been treating them poor with the training. So 16 players have gone on strike. So Honor, who you've seen, the fullback for Spain, on strike. The striker who played for Spain, Lucia Garcia, on strike. The best player in the world at the moment, Alexia Putellas, on strike. They've got basically all the 16 players are on strike, and they've been playing their youth team. And they said they will come back if he issues an apology or he gets sacked. The executive chairman, which is his father, won't sack him, and he's refusing to apologise. So they're saying they're going to stay on strike and they will not play another international game until he leaves. And they extended his contract until 2024.
It's all rotten, isn't it? Rotten to the core, that, and it's just going to kill them off, that, isn't it? And not great at all. Coffee says he doesn't like international breaks, just when we're starting to win games again. I mean, and Ravi says, who, thoughts on the backup England women's keeper? Because obviously, without a doubt, Mary Earps is number one. She's brilliant. I like Mary Earps. I really do like her. And she is number one keeper, in my opinion. She's absolutely fantastic.
You know, a little bit of a story on Mary Earps is we had obviously Phil Neville, didn't we, as a manager before Serena? And Phil Neville actually said to Mary Earps she wasn't good enough to play, and he completely dropped her off the England squad, and she lost her confidence and everything. And then she wasn't even Man United's first choice goalkeeper for a bit either. But when it comes to last season, she gained her confidence. She become she was already a great goalkeeper anyway. She's been everywhere. She's been in the Champions League with Wolfsburg. She literally even played for Nottingham Forest early in her career. Like, she's literally done anything you can possibly imagine. And Phil Neville said she was she wasn't good enough to be in an England shirt. Serena, when she came through and said, "You are by far good enough," and she literally, the first choice goalkeeper, who's now the backup goalkeeper, is Man City's goalkeeper. You probably watched her a little bit, Ellie Roebuck, and yeah. I think for me, with Mary Earps and Ellie Roebuck, the downfall is huge. You could tell she is the backup goalkeeper of Mary Earps because it is a massive drop off. And I think the goals we conceded have mostly come from Ellie Roebuck when she's played. It's not come from Mary Earps. And I think it was absolutely class how Serena's brought her confidence back up and said, come out and live saying you are number one goalkeeper. And that routed a lot of Manchester City fans as well. Say Mary Earps is not good enough. She's nowhere near as good as Ellie Roebuck. And getting best goalkeeper of the year, I think it's great. But the only problem is, can Man United keep her? Because she wants to play Champions League football. Who knows? But I really, really love Mary Earps, and rightly so, number one goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that game. Was when we played Italy in the Arnold Clark Cup, and I thought Ellie Roebuck, she looked a bit suspect that day to me. She didn't look confident, and because I was like, well, I'd rather have Mary Earps in goal, in all honesty, because I think she's a better keeper. But yeah, she just didn't. For me, she just didn't do it at all.
To be honest, though, with Ellie Roebuck, she plays like that every game. It wasn't just that one-off, Tony. It's every single game she plays like that.
Alan says, backup women's keeper. I could not tell you any player, never mind the backup. So sorry, Macy, says Alan.
Oh, it's fine, Alan.
I mean, so last summer we signed Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad for a total of 63 million, 58 million plus 5 million in add-ons. I mean, he started against Liverpool, scored on his debut. Then he went off to Sweden, got injured in the training camp. Before the World Cup break and everything, and he was out for like 4 months, and now he's just come back. He scored 3 and 2, but so far his career, he's played 10 games, started 7, he scored 6 goals already. He's like a new signing now. I mean, what do you make of Alexander Isak as a player? Is he somebody that you would have well and truly liked at Man United?
I think for me, I would happily have took Isak. I think he is a great striker. And I remember because last season he was linked to Arsenal, and all the Arsenal fans were ranting saying, "I won't take Isak with a barge pole and stuff." And he's still only very young. I don't think he had like terrific stats at Real Sociedad, but I'm not a huge fan of Real Sociedad. They've got like the odd good player, and that's about it. But I think Isak for me has been absolutely great. For me, though, I like Callum Wilson, but I do think that Isak should have been playing more games than Callum Wilson, especially since the international break. Just because I don't think Callum Wilson has been the same player, and I think Isak has showed since he's recently started that he should be the starting 11 player at the moment for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, now he's back from injury. It is like having another new signing, but you saw it against, I don't know if you saw the game against Wolves last week, but he was outstripping their defence with his pace. He'd done the same to Forest, but he doesn't just play in a central striker role. He goes left, he goes right, drifts in. Some people are now saying he's like the next Thierry Henry, the way he plays. I mean, he had that one season at Sociedad where he scored 17 goals in 34 games, so an average of 1 and 2. But I mean, at the minute he's just on fire for us. And the thing is, if he'd started that cup final against Manchester United, that may well have been a different cup final. I think Wilson's been off it since he's come back from the World Cup. I don't think Wilson's been at his best, in all honesty. And I like Callum Wilson. I think Callum Wilson's done great for us for what he's done. But I just don't think he's been at his best. 1 goal and 1 assist in 3 months really isn't good enough from a striker of his quality. They keep saying he's had illnesses. We don't know what it is. Is it long COVID? Could it be from those air-conditioned stadiums back in Qatar? We don't know. But he just hasn't been the same player. I think if we get another player, another striker in the summer, I think Callum Wilson's a bench player. The same with this season. If Isak plays every game, doesn't get an injury, doesn't get a sending off or whatever, I can't see Callum Wilson starting another game this season. And it wouldn't surprise me if Callum Wilson actually left in the summer, in all honesty.
Yeah, I do like Callum Wilson, but the stats since the World Cup are not good enough. I don't know if it was maybe World Cup losing the World Cup the way they did, or he just didn't get much game time. Perhaps maybe that played in consideration. But you have to also look at Rashford, for instance. Like, he's got one of the highest goals since the World Cup. So, you see like Foden, he hasn't played well either. But you see your player who does, because I know Saka's been playing well. So we don't really know what it is really. It could even be behind stages with Newcastle, and we just don't know, or if it was something to do with England, we just really don't know what it is. But I do think, for me, in my opinion, he should have been dropped before what he did, especially when you see Isak coming off the bench and he's making a terrific difference. Like, he's not going to do much really in 20 minutes. I always say, what's the strategy? I know they can score a goal, but they're not going to make huge amount of impacts coming on for 20 minutes compared to starting in a game. And I think Isak brings that little bit more different quality. I think he's quicker than Callum Wilson. He's been better in terms of stats as well. It's evident with his goals. But I think maybe it could be a good thing Callum Wilson potentially being dropped, because you see it sometimes too where a player can sometimes feel a bit too comfortable in the role, thinking I'm not going to get dropped. They get dropped and they think, what's going on here? Why have I been dropped? I need to pull my game together. And that could potentially happen yet for Callum Wilson, and you might actually see him maybe in a few weeks' time and he's looking like the same Callum Wilson you used to do. I like Callum Wilson. I liked him since he's been at Bournemouth. So I've rated him for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great for us, Callum Wilson, don't get me wrong, but I just think of late he's just not really been there. Pre-World Cup, he was absolutely on fire, but since the World Cup, 1 goal, like I say, and 1 assist, and he's just not really been there, in the games. But maybe this is the sort of thing he needs. He just needs a rest, maybe. But then Almiron had that impact last week. He was put on the bench, came off the bench and scored against Wolves. And talking about Wolverhampton Wanderers, they're actually 1-0 down at the moment to Leeds, who scored through Jack Harrison. And Aston Villa are leading Bournemouth 1-0 at home, goal by Douglas Luiz. And the other games are goalless: Brentford, Leicester, Southampton, Tottenham. I mean, you've got a big game tomorrow, obviously against Fulham in the FA Cup. But before we get to that, I'll just get into Coffee's comment. He says, Isak's shimmy and dribble before lobbing the ball to Anderson for his goal was hot. Yeah, it was. And he says, we're first in the Premier League for hitting the goalpost. I'm not surprised. Niall says, big ups, Tony and Macy. Hi, Niall. Hope you're well.
Hi, Niall.
And Coffee says, Anderson could keep ASM out of the left wing position. Yeah, he could do, absolutely. So tomorrow you've got Fulham. It's away, isn't it, at the Cottage?
No, it's at home, Old Trafford.
Oh, you're at home.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll win that tomorrow, or do you think it's going to be a tough game?
I think it's going to be a tough game. We're missing out on some, like Casemiro. Garnacho is not there either. He's picked up an injury. Actually, that was in the last game done by Kyle Walker-Peters. He didn't even get a card for it. And now it was a bit like Casemiro's. It was a bit like a leg breaking situation, and he's literally in a boot now. So there's been a couple of times this season where players have been getting injured, didn't even get a card. But we're still, if you look at, I think Fulham have been a terrific team this season. They've Mitrovic has been great. Palhinha, who I know people know I'm a big fan of, he's been superb coming into the Premier League, and that beautiful man. And they've got like Willian, who's been playing well. Andreas Pereira, he's been very good as well. And Robinson, they've all been very good, and they played very well as a team. If, for instance, there was other teams who were not underachieving, would they be so high? Probably not. But they have shown that they are a proper Premier League team, and they deserve to stay in the Premier League without a doubt. But I think for me, it is going to be very hard, and I think if it was probably at Craven Cottage, I think it could potentially have gone to extra time. But I've gone for a 2-1 win for Man United. I'm not overly confident that we're going to batter them or anything, but and knowing that we've got a couple of players out, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it will be, because like you say, talking about Palhinha, apparently we are interested in him, as are Manchester United and Chelsea, surprisingly.
And Liverpool.
I mean, and Liverpool, yeah. That's apparently they want 40 million for him.
Bargain. That'd be a bargain for him, honestly. Like, the way he's playing, right? I think for me, Casemiro, best defensive midfielder in the league, right? But people say, like, Rodri's the best, Partey's the best, and I look and go, where's the Palhinha shouts? Like, Palhinha has been miles better than Rodri this season. He's been better than Partey, but he is not getting the recognition he deserves. Each game he has not played for Fulham, they've lost. They've conceded double amount of goals. But when he's playing, the midfield ticks a lot better, and the way Man United played this season, and he managed to keep Marcus Rashford quiet for the majority of that game, tackling him, intercepting him. I think that's a very tough to do this season with the way Rashford's playing. He's managed to keep a lot of players very, very quiet, and to already be in the 100th figure for tackles this season. I'm only match in the Premier League. He's got the highest tackles in all of Europe. Last season, he had the third highest tackles in the Champions League, and he got knocked out the round of 16. And you look at it and think, he should have had them shouts. Like the Sporting rated him. I rated him at Sporting. But outside of Sporting, nobody rated him. But now he's come to the Premier League, he's getting all them shouts. And I still even think to this point, he's still underrated because he's been better than Partey and Rodri put together.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan said, I think Man United were just better on the day in the cup final. Ravi says, Casemiro, what a lad. Do you think they were better on the day, Man United? Do you think we just couldn't finish? That was our problem.
Yeah, I think we did have better chances than yourselves. I think Weghorst should have scored, and so did Bruno. But at the end, that was a bit greedy. But I think for me I think Ten Hag played it smart, putting Wan-Bissaka on in that second half because he knew that he was going to go all attacking. So he's just tried to control the game in the second half. So I think for me, he did play well, but I think it's also great knowing that it's your first actual full season of Eddie Howe. So to get to a cup final, it's already a great achievement, and then you can just build upon from there now.
I mean, talking about the cup final, were you surprised by the performance of this guy, Loris Karius? I mean, he pulled off a couple of terrific saves, one from Weghorst and one from Fernandes.
Do you want me to?
The media were waiting to slate him, weren't they, to see if he was going to make any errors. And I mean, the second goal, from Rashford, he couldn't do anything about it because he would have saved that if it not come off Botman's foot.
I said though with him, Karius is the thing is that he had a load of stick with the Liverpool final a couple of years ago against Real Madrid, and whenever he come back to first team football, when he is going to try and put on a masterclass, and he was never going to expect to be playing in that final without a doubt. He wasn't going to. If Nick Pope never got that red card, he would have been playing. He wouldn't have been playing, but I think he was absolutely brilliant in my opinion. And I'm going to go one step further. He should be your backup goalkeeper over Dubravka. Dubravka stinks the pitch out. He genuinely does. Like, I can understand where Newcastle fans were rating Dubravka because I was having him out of the season. It was enough to pull my hair out.
Do you know what? I agree with you, Macy, because this is what I said. I think in the summer, sell Dubravka. I say give this guy a new contract and keep him as backup to Nick Pope because he's certainly good enough still. I know Inter Milan are looking at him for backup as well. And apparently his girlfriend, she works in the media over in Italy. So hopefully that's not going to pull him over there, but it depends. But we have to wait and the end of the season. I mean, he was at the game last night, even though he wasn't on the bench as backup. He was third choice, but he was still there. But yeah, I mean, I thought he had a terrific game, and you could see the media were gearing up for it to see if he would have any mistakes, so they could crucify him on it. And I think it was the Mail tried to do before the game because they said in the warm up he made a howler, and they said, "Oh, this doesn't look great for the final." Karius has made a howler in the warm up, so he's going to make one during the match now, or a few. And I thought, you know what it is? You just want to see this lad fail, and he's at Newcastle now, and maybe we've just given him the platform to help him with his career. And like I say, I thought he handled things quite well, and he was just unfortunate. There was nobody's getting the other first goal. The header was too far away, but even Nick Pope, I think, would have struggled to save that. But definitely for the second one, he couldn't do anything. He was doing the right thing, going down for the shot, and it was just unfortunate. Flicked off Botman's boot and looked over, and he couldn't get back up to get a hold of it.
Yeah, I think he was fantastic as well. I think he could have done a tiny bit better for the second goal, but the first one, nothing he could have done about that. Not at all. But I think for me with Karius is, I think He actually is decent. As you know, I'm not a fan of Dubravka. He's miles better than Dubravka. Keep him as the backup. Honestly, keep him as the backup. Oh, I remember that Burnley game with Dubravka, and he literally I was watching him thinking this guy. Like I was there thinking I'm gonna get ball patches in my hair in the next 10 minutes if we don't sub this guy off. I was literally I wanted to pull the hair out because I think he was using the ball with his feet and nearly caused an own goal. I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, this guy's got worse distribution than David De Gea. Why have we started him?
Yeah. Coffee says Southampton gave us a game in the Carabao Cup, especially Adam Armstrong. Ashington says, wouldn't mind seeing Forest go down Steve Pooper's championship dirty tactics. Don't deserve to be in the Premier League. Yeah. Coffee says Rashford could be a surprise nomination for the Ballon d'Or with the way he's been scoring.
Who knows? Probably not, but to be fair, I have seen worse people up for Ballon d'Or called Virgil van Dijk and Sadio Mane. So he's had a better season than them two put together. So if they can get put up for Ballon d'Or, so can he.
Yeah. Ravi says, Mace, thoughts on Anthony and McTominay starting? Thoughts, Martial, is he going?
Ravi already knows my thoughts on both of these players, but McTominay, I don't think he'll be starting. I think it will be Sabitzer, Fred, and Bruno. I think they'll be the three who'll be starting. Or maybe even Sancho in the midfield because he's been trying to play Sancho in the 10. I don't like Anthony. I've already made my thoughts clear about Anthony. I just think for me, he's very greedy. He doesn't pass the ball to certain players. He doesn't cross. When he crosses, he gives the ball away. He's poor on his one-on-ones. He's a pace merchant. He's got nothing else about him. He's not worth the money. Not by a country mile. He is not worth the money. Could he improve? Maybe. But I think he's far too comfortable in that right wing. And that's something I will blame Ten Hag for, is that you shouldn't have made this guy so comfortable on the right-hand side. But I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of McTominay either. He's the sideward backward merchant. When people look and go, oh, look at McTominay. He's had 95% passing accuracy. Yeah, because he sideward and backward passes it. Like, anyone could have a 95% passing accuracy, sideward passing it and backward passing it. But when he brings the ball forward, he gives it away. And that's the 5% where he misses it. And Martial, he is going to go. It's already been... there's been rumours up to 6 players are leaving in the summer. So Martial's going to be one of them. But from what I've read is Man United is looking at doing a swap deal plus a little bit extra for Harry Kane with Anthony Martial.
Watch the space.
Yeah.
Ashington says he wasn't overly impressed by Karius. Coffee says, I was impressed by Karius. He redeemed himself. And he says Dubravka can go to Inter. Alan says he's watching the Southampton-Tottenham game. It's 0-0 at the moment. Yeah. Middlesbrough are currently 1-0 up against Preston North End. Ravi says, Mace, how many players do Man United need to strengthen the squad depth?
We need a first-choice goalkeeper. I don't think De Gea is the one going forward. We need a backup. If we're gonna get rid of Maguire and Phil Jones, we're gonna need 2 centre backs because we need a left-footed one and a right-footed one. We need a right back because I can't cope with Dalot anymore. We need another defensive midfielder to cover for Cass. It's mad how Casemiro got 2 red cards in the Premier League, but he didn't get any red card in 500 games in Real Madrid. It's just crazy. But we need another central midfielder, especially Scott Goals, because as you already know, he's linked to Newcastle, isn't he, Scott McTominay? And I'm going to say,
why we don't want him.
Take him, Tona. Take him. That's what I'm going to say. Take him.
I thought you were his number 1 fan, Macy.
No. Honestly, you know what, right? I actually defend Harry Maguire before I defend Scott McTominay. And I'm not a fan of Harry Maguire, but I still rather defend him over Scott. Scott's just... I've got no words to say about him anymore, to be honest. And I think if we sign Sabitzer, great, but we'll need someone else because I don't want Donny either. we need another right wing player if we're going to convert Sancho, and we need strikers. So yeah, we still easily need about five starting 11 players. And then the players who's already playing, like I think Anthony should be squad depth. I think Fred realistically is squad depth. And Lindelof squad depth. I think get rid of Dalot, keep Wan-Bissaka squad depth. So yeah, I think some of the players who are playing at the moment are squad depth players, but I think we need better starting 11 players.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sefton says afternoon, all afternoon, Sefton. Coffee says Dubravka did well for us, but the moment Pope came, his form dropped off completely. I totally agree with you. Ravi says Anthony is the Brazilian Aaron Lennon. Coffee says I think Anthony's a talented player.
He does break, how can I say, the fan base's opinion. Like he's a bit like Marmite. Like half the people like him, but half the people don't. I was one of them. Like I thought I'll give the guy a chance, but then it got to the point where I was like, he's really infuriating. And you know, like when you're watching infuriating players, and you think,
yeah,
if he done this, we could have done this better. Like you could tell. Like I think it was after that Europa League game when Ronaldo started. He was only passing to Ronaldo, and I think it was that to favouritize Ronaldo. So I thought I'll have a bit more further, but then you would only pass the ball to Bruno and Ericsson and Bruno, Ericsson, Fred. And Cass, and I was like, why are you only passing to these? Like, you can see Rashford clear, you can see Garnacho clear, you can see Weghorst clear, and Martial when he's playing, but you won't play these, you won't pass to these players. Is it because you don't want them to get more goals? Is it a bit of competition, or is it the fact that the people who you're passing to, you've got a better friendship with them? But that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ashington says about McTominay, he says, I'm pretty sure a while ago Eddie said we weren't trying to sign him. So sorry.
I had Ben Jacobs on the channel the other week, and he said on the stream about Newcastle still being linked for Scott McTominay.
Coffee says, Newcastle linked to Maguire and McTominay. I hope Todd Bowley's listening. Ravi says, Tony, thoughts on Diego Jota linked to the two, and I don't want him to go, but he's still good enough for Liverpool. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? He's done great for Liverpool. Don't get me wrong. He can score goals. But I think, is it 70 million you want? I wouldn't pay 70 million for him, in all honesty. Not at all. I think maybe if it was 45 million, then maybe, but I certainly wouldn't overpay to 70 million for him. He's not worth 70 million pound at all. Not in my opinion, he's not. But he's not a bad striker.
Mm-hmm. I like Jota. And the thing is with Jota, he's versatile in a way, because you can play Jota on the left wing, because that's why he plays for Portugal. And I'd even try him as, if you was to play the 4-2-3-1, I wouldn't even mind trying him behind the striker, because I think he will be good in terms of link-up play, because you see great link-up play from Jota. So I think he can play 3 different positions. I'm sounding like I'm a bit like a manager here, like, oh, this play here and there. But I think for me, if I was looking at it from a Newcastle point of view, a striker is someone you need, but I think one who you need more is a defensive midfielder. Because I think Bruno's terrific, but I don't think he's defensive midfielder type. And he's playing a little bit out of position, because it's like Joe Linton playing and Longstaff playing, or if that does change around. And I think for me, Bruno should have more of a free flowing role and play more as a box to box /10 role. I think you'd have a lot more creative chances from Bruno in that case. So I think that should be a more priority than the striker, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Tottenham had to make a substitution in the first half, and after 5 minutes, Richarlison had to go off for Kulusevski. So,
what a shame!
What's happened there? Maybe he's got an injury. Yeah, exactly.
What a shame! My heart goes to Richarlison.
Coffee says, I've never tried Marmite, but I'm pretty sure I'd like it. It can't be worse than some of PD's food picks. Thing is, Coffee, I don't like Marmite. It's absolutely awful stuff.
It is. It's awful.
Ashton said in the press conference a while ago, they asked Eddie about it, and I'm sure he said it wasn't true. Yeah, he's not going to say that anyway, is he? So, yeah, I mean, who knows at the end of the day. But yeah, I wouldn't take Scott McTominay, not a chance. And like Coffee says, let's hope Todd Bowley's listening. I'm not sure if he tunes into my channel, but if he does, then I'm sure Todd Bowley, there you are, go to Man United, go and get Maguire and go and get McTominay, and Macy will be very happy with you. And, you know, so I'm sure she'll give you the thumbs up to take them to Chelsea, because they are the club that keeps on giving. Yeah, buy one, get one free.
If you buy Scott McTominay, you can have Maguire for free. But to be fair, I do kind of feel sorry for Maguire in a way, because I literally, some people will disagree with me on this, but I don't know how much you've watched of United this season. But I said the problem is with Maguire, when he starts, he has Dalot next to him. Dalot is so infuriating to watch. He's actually more infuriating than Anthony to watch. I've never been a fan of Dalot, and the problem is with Dalot is that he goes so far forward. He'll literally do a cross, what looks like a shot off target, and then when the other team starts counter-attacking, he can't catch up because there's big, massive amount of space. The team who it's going to be, if that's Southampton or Newcastle, whoever is going to be playing Dalot, and this is why I'm frightened for Dalot to start against us. He'll leave a massive amount of space that gets exploited. Maguire is on his own to cover for the right back and the centre back position, which I think is very unfair. And then the goal gets put in through the right hand side. So, I feel sorry for Maguire in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially if he's playing the wrong players alongside him as well. It makes him look bad then, doesn't it? And I mean, yeah, well, no doubt will.
He's poor though. Don't get me wrong. Like some of the stuff I've watched on Maguire infuriates me, but I think he'd look a lot more comfortable with Wan-Bissaka next to him.
Ashton says Todd Bowley wants to buy Lewis, Richie, Lascelles, and Manquillo. Ravi says, question for both. Thoughts on the rest playing the advantage, then a few moments later blown for a decision. I kind of see where they're coming from. Yes, play the advantage, but then if there's no advantage gained, then blow it back.
Yeah.
I think it's fair enough. I think it is. Do you, Macy?
I think it depends on the situation. If it's advantage and they kept the advantage, then it's stupid. But if, for instance, because I say advantage should be around for 30 seconds to a minute for the other team. And if, for instance, the other team got the ball in that 30 seconds to a minute, then the whistle should get blown.
Yeah. You see it in rugby where they play advantage, and then if they don't get an advantage, you'll just blow it back. They've got a certain amount of time to use the advantage up.
Yeah.
Coffee says, I'm pretty sure Todd Bowley watched one of the NUFC channels and saw Dujuan Richard's name pop up. Yeah. Lascelles would be an upgrade on Cooler Bramble, says Coffee. He said Chelsea once said Lascelles was the future John Terry. Well, when we came back up that first season from the Championship under Rafa, Lascelles had an outstanding season and he played an absolute blinder against Chelsea. And Chelsea were willing to pay 50 million for him, and Mike Ashley said no. So, you know, we missed out there. We should have sold him to Chelsea for 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Ravi says, thoughts on one player for your team that's improved that you thought wouldn't. Thoughts on a player who's improved our team. No, that is a good one, and it's a hard one.
I've got mine. I
think the last couple of games, I would say Jacob Murphy for sure, because he has really stepped up to the plate. But if I'm going to say a player that's really improved our team, and I think it's got to be down to the masterclass of Eddie Howe, because, you know, we wanted this guy out of the club, basically. And I think he's really, really improved the team 100% since he's been switched roles. And I think he's been an absolute breath of fresh air. The best thing Eddie Howe did, because this guy we were saying was a flop. We wanted him out of the club, couldn't hit a barn door. put him in a new position, and he's probably one of the best centre midfielders in the country, and it's this guy, Joe Linton. So I say Joe Linton has massively improved our team, 100%. So over to you, Macy, your team.
If I'm looking at both as well, one for more reason will be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He lost his space for Dolo. Dolo did play well the first half of the season, but Wan-Bissaka has done well since he's played against Burnley. He's going forward a lot more. He's defending. He's kept us in a lot of games as well, and he's really controlled that right-hand side. I think for me, I would never have seen Wan-Bissaka actually crossing into the box and actually assisting. I think he's already like a quarter of the way there from getting the most. Is equaling the same amount of assists he has in the Premier League in total. Because he barely assists, but I think for me, he is getting his overall play better, and that's something I never thought I'd see. And another one, if I was looking at overall, I'd have to go for Fred. Because I think a lot of people really disliked Fred. The same reason he's very infuriated, but I think he's really slotted well in that midfield to the point where he has been undroppable in some games. He's got, I think he's got like 6 in 8 games. He's got 6 goals at Old Trafford, which is a massive amount of goals for Fred. We used to like take the mick when Bruno had his best scoring season. We said Bruno and Fred have got 20 goals between them both in the Premier League. 19 for Bruno, 1 for Fred. But I think for me, Fred has just really, really improved the midfield. He's going a lot more forward because he's got a defensive midfielder next to him, and he was played out of position because he isn't a defensive-minded player, and to play defensive-minded, you are going to make massive amount of mistakes, and when it's only you who's pressing, and in the team, the pressing does break, and it is going to make yourself look like a worse player overall. So I'd have to go for both Fred and Aaron Wan-Bissaka for both.
Yeah, excellent. Andrew says Akpom scored a game for Borough. That's 25 goals this season. Yeah, he's on fire, isn't he? Coffee says Mafinho. Yeah. Ashton says Mickey. Yeah, he certainly improved as well. There's so many. That's the thing. That's why I just picked Joe Linton out as the main one. J7 as we call him. LA Coffee says Jacoberto Mafinho. Should have scored at Wembley, says Coffee. I mean, that was a hell of a shot. That, I mean, even De Gea was worried because he saw the bend on it, and he all of a sudden thought, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'm not going to make it across for this." And I think he was thankful it just had too much bend on it, and it went past the post.
Yeah.
Ashton says, "Had a feeling Anderson might have found his position last night and could see something good come out of it." Absolutely. Ravi says thoughts of both who's been the best keepers in both European competitions.
It's a tough one.
In European comps, yeah.
Because the thing is that apart from Man United and Sporting, I don't watch other teams in Europa. I do watch Champions League. For the Champions League one, I will probably have to go for Courtois, just because I do think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. There's no question about that. But a lot of people will probably say Diogo Costa from Porto. But I did put on do you know that thing where they've got the what's it called? When they've got the knives, like as in to say, an unpopular opinion, and mine was Diogo Costa is overrated based off his penalty conversion rate, but I just don't think he's as good as a lot of people make him out to be. And 70 million for a goalkeeper, I wouldn't touch it. I know Arsenal for Life has mentioned Sporting's keeper played as being great, but honestly, they were 2 one-off games. He's cost Sporting a lot of points this season in the league, and he cost them the being in the Champions League knockouts as well. So
yeah,
that's why I couldn't say Adan. Just because he has cost too much for Sporting this season, and the problem is with Sporting is that they've got a shocking backup goalkeeper is in Israel, so It's either play Adan, who's been shocking, or play 21-year-old Israel, who's even worse than Adan. Which one is it gonna be? I'll choose Adan.
Yeah. Brentford have took the lead against Leicester City, so they're 1-0 up through Jensen. So Brentford's ahead now. Almiron this season because he wasn't doing anything before, says Alan. Yeah, that's a good shout. Sefton says, I'm still laughing at John Joe calling us swingebacks. Yeah, but he was joking about that. Coffee says, Rashford's form has definitely improved, in my opinion. Last season, he was a completely different player. Yes, he was.
Yeah, 100% he was.
Alan says, this game, 4 players off injured, 2 each side. Southampton versus Tottenham. Bye, what's going on there? Ashton says, be good to see Tottenham lose to Southampton. It would be, wouldn't it? And it could happen because Southampton are fighting to stay in the Premier League. Andrew says, when players sit on the bench, well, I like to see them grab their chance. Isak's done it. Murphy's done it. Now Anderson, the future's bright. The future's black and white. How are you, the lads? Absolutely, Andrew. Bia says, Spurs are awful. We are finishing above them. They are awful, aren't they? Ian says, think it was tongue-in-cheek though, Sefton. Yeah, it was. Ravi says, lots of Liverpool fans would like Sporting's manager after Klopp, and I agree, he's quality. Love the back three he plays.
Yeah, I like Ruben as well, but he's been linked to a few Premier League clubs already. He's been linked to Villa and he was linked to Wolves. He did reject them both because he said he wanted to stay at Sporting. So I do hope to God he does reject Liverpool, but I can't see that he'd reject Liverpool. But yeah.
Yeah, you never know, do you? It's but let's see who's gone off. Yeah, Bednarak and Bella Kotchop went off in 8 minutes and got replaced by Salisu, and on 34 minutes, Bednarak got taken off and Maitland-Niles come on in his place. And for Tottenham, Ben Davies has gone off after 37 minutes and been replaced by Perisic. So yeah, 4 players there. Gosh, so both sides have used 2 subs already.
Oh, Porro scored! Oh, that's cracking for Porro. It's his first Premier League goal.
For Southampton.
Tottenham are 1-0 up. Pedro Porro scored.
They're at 1-0 up now, Tottenham.
Yeah, I love Pedro Porro, ex-Sporting player. But yeah, I'm glad for him because it's his first. He's only ever made one cap for Spain as well, so he's actually been called back up for the Spain squad. So I am really happy for him as well, and maybe he's probably glad that he's left now because he's actually getting opportunities internationally too.
Yeah. Coffee says, I hope we get to Europe so we can sing Where the Geordie Super Geordie Zeddy is our king. Alan says, just injured in separate incidents. Andrew says, I'm so happy that after the game I'll go on the snake bites. Ravi says, thoughts on keepers on their lanes for pens. Yeah, I think it's the right decision. If their feet are off the line, then they retake the penalty, simple as.
Yeah.
7 minutes stoppage time for injury, says Alan at the Southampton game. Spurs 1-0 up, says Ian. Yeah. Ravi says, Spurs, their fans just don't learn. No, they don't. Andrew says, being a good show like this, Tony and Macy. Macy Mel's better than John Lal. Only kidding, don't tell him. Yeah, so guys, we're coming to the end of the show, but it's been a cracking show. We've spoken about all sorts, not just men's football, women's football as well. It's been absolutely terrific. Been absolutely great to have Macy on. And I will hopefully get Macy on for the match preview when we get back to Premier League action after the international break. So hopefully she'll come on and give our thoughts on the game, and we'll do a match preview. Billy says, nice to see Macy. She's very knowledgeable. Exactly, Billy. Thank you, mate.
Thanks very much.
And Ravi says, Mace loves to remind me of United women's battering Liverpool women's with a song.
Okay, so Man United women beat Liverpool 6-0. So we made a song. What we chant at every game is who put the ball in the Scousers' net? Half of Man United.
Oh, that's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. That is. Andrew says, aye, she's a canny lass for a mank.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Andrew's like that. He's full of compliments. He's all right as Andrew. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And he says, that's lol, great song. Coffee says, bye, Tony and Mason, Macy and all. Great show, Tony and Macy, says Ian. Thank you very much, Ian. Lol, Mace, you love the Liverpool jokes. So when we do the match preview, I'll hopefully you can come on and we'll do the preview for the game ahead at St James's Park on the 2nd of April, and that promises to be a great game. Alan says Macy knows her stuff. Yes, she does, absolutely. She's like a little encyclopedia.
Thank you, Alan.
But do you want to tell everybody where they can find you, Macy? So,
my YouTube channel is Devils United. Do men and women's football on there for Man United. And on top of that, I've been doing a little bit of sporting content. I've got John on in a few weeks' time because I know he likes Juventus. So got him on for a Sporting versus Juventus preview, which is going to be exciting. I've got a watch along tomorrow for the women's football as well because the FA Cup gets played for men and women's on the same weekend, which is pretty good. So I've got that coming up too. My Twitter's at 2_Mays1012. My tweet went viral actually the other day. I got over 30,000 likes because this AFTV guy said that Arsenal spanked Man United in the 2-win, their 3-2 win at the Emirates. So I said to him, if that I put a picture on of the 8-2 when we beat you, and I said, if that's a spanking, what is this? And it went viral.
Oh, brilliant, excellent.
It was pretty funny because loads of Arsenal fans were getting rattled, and there was like, remember when we won the league at your ground, and I put a picture on of Van Persie when he done the Guard of Honor, when I had to do the Guard of Honor when we won the league, and I said, do you remember this? So I was rattling quite a few of them, to be honest. It was pretty funny. A lot of them were not happy, and some of them were saying I wasn't classy or anything. I was like, okay, I'm bothered.
And Andrew says, Macy, come back on after we've upped you 5-0 next month. Okay, then only 4-0.
Oh, hopefully not.
Gary says, still 0-0 at the Stadium of Clowns, Tony. The Stadium of Plate, Sunderland, yet 0-0. Ravi says, Bav says, deluded, Mace. Billy says, saw that tweet, excellent stuff.
I put it as my pinned tweet now because I thought, well, if I've rattled all these Arsenal fans, I've got to keep it for memories.
Yeah. Ravi says, lol, what are you like? Good work, Macy. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TonyTooney31. If you give me a follow, I'll follow you back. Also, you know where my channel is because you're on it now. What have I got coming up tomorrow? Tomorrow, I will be I'll be doing my series again. So I started a new series called Secret Location a couple of weeks ago. It was very cold, so hopefully it's a bit warmer tomorrow. But a couple of weeks ago, I'd done 2 within about an hour and a half of each other. I was first of all in Nick Pope's very first club, which was Bury Town, non-league club. So if you haven't seen that, check that one out. And then I was at Ipswich Town's Portman Road, outside their stadium, because it was only 36 minutes away. But so because I only live like literally about an hour from Ipswich, but I am going to go and see one of their games one day, I think this season, if I can, to Ipswich, and just do a little vlog or something from there, and just have a look in the ground and have a nosy, as you do. But so tomorrow I'll be in another secret location where, who knows, but I'll see where I turn up, see where the car takes me, and I'll turn up somewhere and I'll try and give you a few clues. And if you can't get off the clues, then I'll reveal where I am. But I've got an idea where I'm going tomorrow. And yeah, but then again, that could change overnight. I could go somewhere else completely different. So just watch and find out tomorrow. And yeah, you'll see exactly where I am. But yeah, it's been a great show. A lot of great football content spoke about. As I say, it was in the title, all things football. Andrew says, "I, my brother's near you in Hadley, Tony." Yeah, I'm about just over an hour. I think about an hour from Ipswich. So yeah, Hadley's probably about 45 minutes away. Andrew says, "Great show. Thank you very much, mate. Indeed." And guys, yeah, before I go, if you like what you see, then please smash a like. It does help the channel with search results. Also, by hitting the subscribe button. It's free to do so, helps the channel grow, and also the bell notification tells you when I'm live, have a pre-record, or any upcoming shows. So there we go. But as I say, guys, we had a great win last night. You know, we're now 1 point behind Spurs. Well, we were 1 point behind Spurs, but they're currently winning, so that puts us back to 4 points again. But unless Southampton pull out an equaliser or even win the game. But yeah, win the next game against Man United, we could end up above Man United because we got the better goal difference. And who knows? And one more comment in. He's talking to Billy, so that's absolutely fine on that one. But guys, thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll see you on the next show. So don't forget to check out the secret location tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy it. But until then, it's bye-bye from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.